Hey everybody, welcome back to the new shop space. So it is the following Monday after we completed our installation of the Gorbel jib crane there, and also setting the American Pacemaker in here. Okay, so what I'm about to do, I've decided I need to move the pacemaker a little bit. That's about where I wanted it, but I'm realizing that I've got a little bit more room behind it over there that I can push it that way to help maximize my floor space in this area right in here, because I'm trying to map out future machines that I would like to get in here, and I really like a little bit more space in here if possible. I had an idea of maybe having like 2 machines face to face with a workbench in the middle right there. So I want to push this over that way a little bit. This is really kind of a dead space in here now that we're going to be using a machine right in this area, in this vicinity. So the main thing for me is to be able to just get back here to the wash tub, but I've also got space behind the lathe so you can walk around it right here. All right, so I'm going to push it back a little bit. The main thing is just to make sure that we have a little bit of space in here. We have enough space for our electrical panel, and that also the door opens up enough and doesn't, it's probably going to end up hitting the column a little bit when you open it up, but this door, open it up, I'll show you. The way I set it is that it 100% clears it there right now. Okay, if you need to get in here and access it, like if you want to get in here, do the lead screw reverse or whatever, this doesn't have to be fully open like that. So I think I got a little bit of wiggle room on this door to be able to open up. So I brought some of my bars right there. I've got some more. My plan was to take my toe jack, lift it up, set it down on the steel bars, and then pry it over. And then it occurred to me, I still have a forklift sitting right here that I paid for. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and use this guy, because I just called them. They said to call them first thing Monday, they'd come pick it up. The guy says, we'll be there today or tomorrow sometime to get it. So I probably have this for another day if they don't show up first thing. I'll use it and I'll get over here and see if we can just go one end at a time, okay? And get this done. So let's jump in there and see if we can move this lathe around a little bit. First thing I got to start with is get the machine up off these 2x, or at least set them up a little bit higher, because the machine's down a little bit too far to be able to easily manage it with the forks. And on this headstock side, well, I tell you what I'm probably going to try. I'm going to see if I can just pick it up, get these 2x out from underneath it, set it down on these steel bars, because it'll slide real easy. That's what my original plan was. So I may be able to come right up to this bottom casting with the fork and push on it once it's on this steel, and it might move really easy. The tailstock end is easy enough. This headstock side is, it's going to be a little bit to handle even with that forklift. But I think if we can get it to slide, that'll be the ticket. See, that's all you need right there. This is an awesome little jack. It's called a toe jack if you're not aware, and they're easy to build. I got this one off of eBay, like 150 bucks. All right, we need to go get the other side now. I got the toe jack up on the inside of the headstock in here, and what I'm doing is I'm picking up this and the center leg there off the 2x. Let me see. Yeah, okay. I need to get that one clear. And let me go around to the back side. Okay. Easy does it. I don't even remember what the lift capacity is on this. Let me see. The toe, it says 2.5 tons. Okay, top, 5 tons on the top, 2.5 on the front. So we're well within what this thing can handle. We just got to get the ones on the tailstock end out now. A lot of these older machines will have these raised area in the casting right there. This is the area that you actually It allows you to get your jack in like this right here, or a pry bar or something like that. Two by on the back side and the one on the front right there. Okay, so we got our steel bars in here. And that should be pretty good. Actually, let me bring this one in. Well, I can't. There's a little, feels like there's casting or something under there kind of catching it. Let's see if it'll lower down right there onto them. Yeah, I see there's something underneath there. It might have been on the screw there. I didn't see it go down. We're on that one though. All right, I think that'll be good. All we got to do is move it a few inches that way and it'll work out just fine. So we've got a 2x4 in front of the casting on the bottom there. I'm gonna line the fork up with that 2x and push against that. Hopefully it don't split it, but we'll see if it works. Here's another 2x. We'll stick right there in front of that one there. We'll see if that works. It's kind of hard to feather this thing. It worked though. I'm just gonna get around here and check it. I don't have any eyes back here. Got plenty of length on our bars. That sucker just split right through that, didn't it? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and work on the other end now so I don't get it too far over that way. Okay, now for the tailstock end. Going to do some checking, do a little at a time so I don't go too far with it. This is going to work out pretty good. I think I need a little bit. I can come over a few more inches, maybe another 3 inches or so. I need to move the bars as well. All right, one more push on the tailstock end, and I think we're going to be good on that. I'm going to go another 3 or 4 inches that way. That'll still give us plenty of walk room over there. Just gonna get down and look at it. I think that's gonna be good right there. We got adequate walk room to get to our sink. Yep, I think that's good on this end here. Okay, just a little bit more on the headstock end. I've got the door open right here just so that I can kind of see that. But like I said, see, we're gonna hit it a little bit, but even if it's like that, it's not that big of a deal. So we'll just kind of level it off through there, make it square to that expansion line. Take a peek. See what we're doing here. Pretty close right there. Pretty close. Judging with my precision eyeball, we've got, I don't know, 1 or 2 inches off the square. Let me go in a little bit more. How's that look? See, I'm looking at the expansion joint right there. I think it looks square enough. Jimmy always says if it looks straight, it is straight. Yeah, we still got room back here. Walk back here, get to our sink, walk around this side. I think we're gonna be pretty good right about there. First electrician just showed up. They're getting ready to start working on this thing here very soon. Okay, so we've got our lathe placement where we want now, and that's gonna be able to give me a little extra room in here whenever we decide to put another machine in this area right here. I don't know if we're gonna have room for a workbench in here, but we might. So we're just gonna have to deal with it whenever we get to that point when we wanna add more stuff in here. So next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and get the bars back out, but what I wanna show you, we've gotta make our pads for our leveling screws. I brought some blanks that I'm gonna set them on now, but I got some more at the shop that we're gonna machine later. I've just gotta measure the diameter, and we gotta go to the shop, face them off all the same length, and put a little counterbore in there for the screw to set in. I'm gonna show you those right now. I think the electrician should be here any time to start working on it. One of the guys came and then he left, so he said he was waiting on the rest of the crew to get here. So anyway, I got these guys right here. I've got several of these cut in a box that I was going to use for another project. It's just 1045 steel. This is old hydraulic chrome rod. That's one of the things I loved about all that chrome rod I used to get at Motion, was that it's good material. Just because the chrome is bad on the outside doesn't mean it's bad material to use. So you can repurpose it for a lot of things. So all right, so we got a bunch of those, and these are what I'm talking about. We're going to face these guys off, make them look nice, counterbore a divot in the center of it for our leveling screws. But I'm going to go ahead and get the machine set on some of these now. They're going to go just like that, so it'll be a little bit higher, and get it in place, because the electricians are going to start getting this thing hooked in hopefully this morning. And I wanted to make sure that the machine is where it needs to be, and I didn't want to move it one way or the other, because this stub out right here was pre-planned for a lathe to go here. They're going to pull their wiring through here for a 3-phase circuit, and then they'll go down. I told them, let's fasten the conduit to the concrete right there. I'll get a ramp or something to go over that so it's not a trip hazard. And so they'll just come right across, and then probably have some kind of flex going up in. This is what was on the machine right there. And then get in there and get it hooked up. It is wired right now for high voltage. I believe it's wired for 480. So they have to reconfigure the taps here to wire it for 240 3-phase, which is what we have here for our shop supply power. I'm gonna have to get a socket wrench and a socket and a breaker bar. That one was real tight. This one right here, I cannot get it to break loose with my 15-inch adjustable wrench here. Probably need to spray some penetrant on there. I'm sure it's just some rust in there in the threads. I may just end up setting it right on the, see it trying to roll there. We may just put it right on the casting, on the corner like that. See, that one's hitting. I may just put them right on the corner for now until we get all these adjusters loosened up and ready to use. This kind of stuff is, even though these machines are really, really heavy, this kind of stuff is really not that bad to move by yourself if you have the right tools. And that's why I was saying, if you have one of these toe jacks, some steel bars and a pry bar, you can really move a lot of metal with it. Just be real safe. Never put your fingers underneath the machine or between two pieces right there. If you got to get anything, reach in with something like that. Anything, a block of wood, to reach in there to try to move something out of the way if you need to. All right, let's go to the headstock end. Don't have a lot of room to pump the jack handle right here. It's about got about the toe maxed out. Thing's got some gravity to it. There we go. That'll catch it right there if it falls. Okay. A little bit more. Get it off the screw just a little bit. Okay. All right, we'll go to the back side and get those. Okay, I'll go ahead and set her down. Okay, so we safely have the American Pacemaker moved into place over that a little bit further. We'll look at our door again. We should have plenty of room to access this right here. We're gonna bump that just a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. Still get in here and work in here if we need to, or access it. And I've got it setting on 6 points right now. So 4 on the headstock end, and then just 2 out here on the outer end. So I don't know how out of level it is right now because we're just sitting on the direct casting. So the next phase from here for me is to go ahead and machine those pads like I had previously mentioned. We'll be doing that pretty soon. And then we'll have a whole segment on getting the pacemaker set on the pads and level the machine out like it needs to be. All right, so I'm excited. The guys are going to be here at any time, and they're going to start getting the motor wired in today. So hopefully today we're going to have the pacemaker running, and we're going to have our Gorbel jib crane hooked up as well. Well, it's actually been a busy morning around here in the shop. We've had the electricians in here working and getting some of these circuits ran. They actually just left to go eat their lunch, so I thought it'd be a good time to get some video. I know how a lot of people are when they're doing this kind of stuff. They don't want a camera looking at them doing a lot of this work. So just give you an update as they get some of this stuff done. You can see they've got some wire pulled, and I'll tell you where we're at right now. So the Gorbel is wired in, it's ready to go, but they're waiting on a breaker. They don't have the breaker installed yet. They got to pick that up. I did want to point out the box right up there that the hoist is actually plugged into. That was some parts that I already had, and so they used those to get the job done instead of having to buy some more parts. This is all stuff that I brought from the house that I said that they could use if any of it was usable there. We got some disconnects right here. I know they're going to be using these guys. We're going to have one for the lathe. We're going to put another disconnect down there, ready for some more machinery there. Some extra wire, all stuff that I've bought over the years to do some wiring at the shop. You know, so any of this stuff, I just told them if there's something there you can use, to use it. Because I already had to buy this whole roll right here, this whole roll of wire, and that's what they're using to run a circuit to that side over there. And I asked them, I said, how much is a roll? And it was like over $400 just for this roll of wire, because mine, which was what I brought in, this wasn't quite long enough. So what I am doing with this circuit right here that they're installing, it's coming over here to this side, and there's going to be a junction box over here or something right in this area. And I want 3-phase power here, mainly because I'm planning on having a saw in here. And I think I want the saw to go right here. That's kind of where I plan, is to put the saw here. So we're gonna have a 3-phase circuit there, but they're running enough so that I can run 2 machines, depending on the amperage. So we can do a couple machines over here. We're gonna have a welding receptacle over here. That's what this guy is. This is a 50 amp single phase. They're gonna mount this over here. And I asked them to go ahead and put one over here as well, because this is the corner that I was thinking about. I'm gonna build into the welding area right over here. So we're gonna have a receptacle here for a welder as well. They're just gonna put a J-box up there and come down, and so those two plugs will be on the same circuit there. We're also gonna put a 20 amp circuit here because I wanna put a cord reel, a real craft cord reel up on this beam for extension cord, and I wanna be able to plug it in, so they're gonna do that right there. I believe what they said is that they're gonna use this one, and they're gonna come out of that and then install it right there. Okay, so that's what's going on. All right, so the jib crane is ready. We're just waiting on the breaker, and then they're gonna be working on getting a circuit run here. All right, that's their, I can't remember what this is called, but this is so that they can pull their wire through. All right, they're gonna hook the American Pacemaker in, but what they're doing is that they're running a heavy enough circuit over here that I could actually run 2 machines off of this. So they'll have a box here. I think we're gonna use this disconnect here, which is one that I had at the old shop for the pacemaker. And then that way, if I wanna come over here, let me back up, this area right here by the crane, I can put a machine here. There'll be enough juice coming out of that we can run either machine off of that circuit. All right, so that's the plans for today. That's what they're gonna try to get done. I think this is the wire right here that they're gonna pull, yeah, for the circuit for the pacemaker and that other corner there. All right, so that's where we're at. And they're thinking that they're gonna have a lot of this done, finished today. So later on this afternoon, I'll give you guys another update. Hopefully we're gonna see at least the Gorbel running, and hopefully maybe even the American Pacemaker fire up and run too. The one thing that I forgot to mention to you is that we officially have our door installed. The door crew came out this morning, took the other door down, and got the actual door that's supposed to be here installed. So that was done today as well. You had a lot of stuff going on over here, and you had the electricians over here working, so there was just a lot of different things going on, but really excited to finally at least get that done. The other one, it was just a temporary door, and the chain didn't go all the way down. It was like, it ended like here. So now we have a proper chain. They said that this is a wind rated door, so you got these little channels in there as well. And anyway, so we got our final door installed. Glad to get that finally done. It's the next day. I'm here waiting on the electricians to get here, and they're gonna get started back on their work. And hopefully we're gonna have the American Pacemaker running today. They did run into an issue yesterday. The motor starter is, I don't think it's working correctly. That's what he's thinking anyway. They got it hooked up right at quitting time. I think it was right around 5 o'clock. And it was making a bunch of noise, so he's going to come in today and start working at it and figuring out if there's a problem with it, or if he needs to go and get another starter and and do something to fix the problem. And what I'm talking about is this guy right here that they had to hook in. It's got the magnets in there that create your contact when you hit your on switch. And it's making that really, really loud buzzing sound whenever you turn it on. So when you turn the lathe on, this thing is buzzing extremely loudly. So there's an issue with this. So he's got to get in here and work on this and figure out what's wrong with it. He said he may even have to take this back and get another one because there might be an issue with this, but I don't know. It was so late in the day that they were just ready to clean up and go home and come back, and they're going to start working on this today. So that's where we're at for this. He does have the motor rewired for 240 voltage. I believe he's got this one wired now. This motor here runs this gearbox, which runs the rapid traverse lead screw back here on that side. That's all that motor does. It just runs all the time running that screw. So that's going to be the work that they're going to be getting on to this morning. And we do have the Gorbel jib crane wired up, and it is ready to go. Very excited about that. Let's see here. Here's our pendant. Look at that. Super quiet motor up there. Barely hear it running. Another cool feature that this system has is that you have, I guess you would say, you know, like slow and fast mode. So if you push the button down halfway, it goes like half speed. And then down. And then push the button fully to go at full speed. Very cool feature. That's always super handy to have that, especially when you're using these cranes to load materials into the machines. So really, really cool. So happy that this is finally completed. I mean, it is 100% completed, with the exception, I need to finish lubricating the chain. That is one of the recommendations from Gorbel, is to use some chain lubricant on this before you use it. So I actually don't have that. I need to go get some, and we'll get the chain lubricated before we put some heavy use on this. I did bring the pallet around here with the steady rest and the forejaw. So I was gonna do the first initial test lift with these guys right here. I don't think I'm gonna have time to get to this before the crew gets here and get started on their work. I don't wanna be doing this while they're trying to get all this electrical work done. So this may wait until later, but I just wanted to get it over here under the crane and ready to pick up. So the other work that they're getting ready to start on today is one of the last things that need to be done is run the electrical circuit outside for our Mr. Cool mini split air conditioner systems. They're going to supply the power outside where the 4 units are going to sit, and then Fernando and I are going to get them installed, and then he can wire them into the disconnects outside the wall. So that's the circuit that they got to install, and then there's one more that they've got to finish today. They've got to come out of this panel. That's what that pipe right there is for. That is an extra pipe, so if they need to come out of that with some wire, they're going to feed another circuit out of that to install my 20 amp receptacle over here that's going to feed my 20 amp cord reel that's going to end up going right here whenever I get that. So that's the other circuit that they got to run today. So hopefully all that is going to get finished up today, and I'll bring you guys back whenever we have some updates to share with you. I'm hoping that it's going to be our lathe is running. All right, guys, I got a good update for you here to kind of finish out today. So the electricians were here both yesterday and today, and they are completely finished up with all the electrical circuits that I wanted them to run, with the exception of whenever we have some more machines come in later, they're going to be coming back and helping me get those wired in. But they've got the circuitry, the circuits run for those machines ready to go. All right, so the good news is, we have an American Pacemaker that is wired up and it is running, and we're gonna go over there and I'm gonna fire it up for you so that you guys can see this run for the first time here in the shop. And we've also got a running Gorbel jib crane. I think I showed you that earlier, but what I would like to do, see, I've got the pallet over there with the steady rest and the 4-jaw chuck. I'd like to go ahead and do its very first lift. I haven't picked anything up with it yet. And I did want to say at this point in time, I wanted to mention, because I've already installed this, and you guys might recall that I had to machine the 2 14mm pins for the hoist because that was missing. The 3 pins that I needed was missing out of the parts. Didn't realize it until I went to put it together. Gorbel reached out to me yesterday, and they are sending me the pins, and they suggested that I replace the pins with the ones that they provide with that hoist right there. So once those pins come in, I'm going to get up there and we're going to replace my pins with the factory pins. So I want everybody to be aware of that. And Gorbel was excellent. They got right back to me first thing Monday morning and told me that they're going to get those pins coming. All right, so let's get over here to our American Pacemaker lathe, and we're gonna fire it up for the first time. I will mention that we did have, we had 2 issues with this that the electricians ran into anyway. So we've got our new, here's our wired connection coming in to the lathe. All right, this is our rapid traverse motor right here. Our main motor is down there behind that cover plate. So this is the motor starter. right here, and it's got that magnetic contactor in there. The one that we had got yesterday, once they wired it up and we tried it, was extremely noisy. It was so noisy that it was the point of being annoying. So they went back to the supplier today and they got the guts. Actually, they picked up another one of these and replaced the contactor with the one they picked up today with what was in there, and it works great now. Okay, so we're ready to go. We've got a disconnect right here that is going to run. That's the disconnect for this machine. So we got that fixed. The other thing was, after we kicked it on and we ran it for a few minutes, it cut itself off. Something was tripping. It was tripping the contactor where it wouldn't allow it to stay running. The guys kept messing with it, and they determined that it was this guy right here that's causing the issue. I believe they said that this is the heaters right here. Those are the heaters that work for this motor here. They determined that these guys keep tripping. You can run it for about 2 to 3 minutes. These must be getting hot or something, and it's actually tripping it where it won't allow the motor to continue to run. So they have got this bypassed, and my electrician is going to be coming back to diagnostic this, either replace the guts or replace the thing altogether. So that's still going to be fixed here pretty soon. But we have the machine running now. So let's fire it up for the first time so you guys can hear it, okay? Here's our start and stop, and then green indicates that we have power to the machine. Here we go. There we go. All right, spindle's running. So we have a little bit of a clutch issue with this lathe, and the one that I ran at motion did the same thing. When you first fire it up, when it's kind of cold, you have this little bit of clutch engagement that it's trying to drift. So just push up on the handle, stops it, all right? Also notice that it sounds a little bit noisy here on this end. That is the clutch. We're gonna open this up. That's this guy right here that's making the rattling sound. I've never been into this clutch before on a pacemaker, so this is something that we're gonna have to do a little research on. Now what I will say is that when you engage the clutch, that rattling sound actually goes away. So here we go. There it is. Come back over here with the mic, and you can see that it smooths up nicely. Right now I've got it in 126 RPM. We're in the intermediate position right here, 126. This seems to be the smoothest gear selection right here, 30, 126, and 540. So far I've liked kind of keeping it in that, because we've been running it while we were trying to figure out what the electrical issue was on the other side, or what the other guys were anyway. I was just operating the lathe for them. All right, we'll come over here, and we have our cross feed. And then the other lever is for your longitudinal feed, all right? All right, it's going to the right, so you can change feed direction right there. Let's come over here and speed this up a little bit. Go over into E. That way you can kind of see it working a little faster. And it sounds good. It sounds really good. All right, we'll disengage that one. All right, doing good. Now let's slow this down. Go back to D. This is where you flip it over to your lead screw right here for threading. Gauge it all the way. And now you got your lead screw running. This is your thread chasing dial here. Let's see if we can, oh, we got to go to neutral here. And then we'll put this, there we go. There, engage your half nuts. So there we are, cutting a thread. All right, so everything's working. Compound, I can tell that this is gonna need some work. We're gonna actually be removing this at some point. I wanna go into this and actually do some work on the compound, because that's it's a little ratchety feeling in there. I don't know if it's the gears, the bearings, or what is going on. A little bit ratchety, okay? I can tell that the ways need to be cleaned very good and oiled. It's the carriage is a little sticky on the ways right now, a little sticky, but they just need to be clean. You can see how dirty everything is underneath there. We'll go ahead and turn this off. We need to pull the way wipers off, replace some wipers, but we need to clean everything really well. And there you can hear the clutch, what I'm talking about. So whenever it's not running, clutch is a little noisy. All right, this is our rapid traverse. I always had a lot of people ask about that. This feed rod right here always runs. That's what this motor's for, running that gearbox. And the rapid traverse, which is that lever right there, whenever you engage that, it actually engages some mechanism over here that has a pawl that catches that screw, and it'll follow that groove either direction, and making the carriage move very quickly to one side or the other when you want a rapid. That's one of the things that we have to work on and repair eventually, okay? So there we go. We have a running American Pacemaker, and I couldn't be happier. Very exciting times here for me, getting this lathe up and running. All right, let's go ahead and shut her off. Turn it back into our feed. And you can push up on that, and it breaks the spindle there. And that turns everything off. So we still have a lot to do over here on the lathe. It's going to be a little bit before we get over here and we start making some chips. I am really excited about getting some material in here and making some chips with this thing, just to see how it's doing and to share it with you guys as well. But we need to get the lathe, we need to get our leveling pads machined, installed, get the lathe leveled. We need to get the ways clean. We need to get the oiling system in order. All those good things right there. So those are some of the steps that we need to take before we just jump on this machine and start making chips, okay? So we'll have a series of sort of getting the lathe maintained and getting it ready so that we can start using it to turn some shafts and make some chips, all right? So like I said, I want to go ahead and test out the Gorbel for the first time, and I want to have you guys right here with me while we do that. So I went ahead and just brought it over here, and I've got a strap on the steady rest, and we are going to pick this guy up, and we will go ahead and set it on the lathe. And I'd like to pick the 4-jaw chuck up also and get a good look at that. By the way, this is my chuck wrench from the house that I use on the Monarch, because this the lathe did not come with any chuck wrench, so we're going to have to build 2 different chuck wrenches because the square is a different size for both. So let me set you up on a stand and we'll go ahead and pick this stuff up. So let's go ahead and perform our first lift. Before we start, I wanted to go ahead and point this out. So as per the Gorbel instructions, that they recommend to lubricate the chains before you use it. I will say that I don't have any proper chain lubricant here with me, but I'm going to be getting some, and we're going to properly lubricate this chain before we put it in the service. But we are going to go ahead and test it right now. All right. Super quiet. I love how quiet that motor is. We're going in slow speed right there. There's full speed. We have a 2-speed hoist. All right. There we go. There's our first lift with our big steady rest. Real easy to move. That thing is just, I mean, you don't even hear it. You don't hear that crane moving at all, you know, on that roller bearing. So let's go set it down, set it over there on the lathe. I do have it all the way to the end of the beam, by the way. So whenever we go to move it and pick it up and everything, we'll have to just set it right here and then slide it. I want to slide it to the back of the machine, keep it out of the way. And then this is where that 2-speed motor really is super helpful whenever you're setting work pieces into the machine here. You can kind of feather this thing in. Just push the button down halfway. Very gently set it down there. I wiped these ways off before I set it down there, by the way. I always do that with the steady rest. So there we go. There is our very first lift with our Gorbel jib crane. How exciting is that? Are y'all more excited than I am, or am I a little too happy here? So we'll take it and we'll just go ahead and rotate it out of the way, just like that. Very cool. Such a game changer having an actual proper overhead crane over your machinery. So we'll take this guy and we're just going to slide it right on back here, right to the back of the machine. And I got to loosen this guy up a little bit. I always just finger tight the clamp just to secure it so that it can't get bumped and moved off, just like that. I guess you guys saw that. Yep. So there we go. First lift. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to pick up our forward jaw. This is going to be the beefy test subject right here. I've got a hydraulic scale that I'd like to bring down here, and we'll pick this guy up at another point, and we'll try to get kind of a weight on it. There we go. Looks like it might try to slide off that pallet a little bit. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Everything's working just like it's supposed to. I don't have that good of a light over here. Let me move the camera so you guys can see this a little better. There we go. So there's the back of the Cushman right there. Cushman has always been my my favorite chuck. These were, a lot of times, these were the standard chucks that came on all these old machine tools like American Pacemaker and Monarch, and I'm sure many others there. So this is a candidate that's going to get some restoration work, because you can tell this has been sitting for an extremely long period of time that hasn't been used. I think that whoever was previously using this machine was using that 3-jaw chuck, because all the threads here. This is your what they call an American L style taper. I don't recall what the taper size is, but I'll find that out. But the taper, it sits right up in there, and then you have the spanner nut that screws up onto these threads that pulls the chuck tight against the taper inside here. But we've got quite a bit of surface rust on there, so we're going to do some cleaning of this guy and getting this thing looking like it's brand new again. So the good thing is that means that this thing is probably not seen a lot of hard work. That's what I'm guessing anyway. So, all right, I'm going to go. I actually want to set this on the ways over there to kind of get it up out of the floor. And so let's do that now. I'll most likely let this guy live right here on the ways. For now anyway, to kind of keep it up out of the floor, out of my way. We're just making sure that it's sitting squarely right there. There we go. So we got our steady rest, our 4-jaw chuck, and then we also have, this is the taper attachment that goes on the back of the carriage right there. It looks like there are a couple pieces missing, like the T-nuts and whatever studs that's used on both ends that holds it and clamps it in place. Those are missing. These rails, I believe, go with this system right there. It's got the roller bearings in there. There's 2 of those. I believe that goes with it. And this is the clamp here that goes on the back. And then there's also a bunch of soft jaws. These must have came with the machine. So Brian, the gentleman that I bought the lathe from, included all this. I think he got all this with the machine. Whoever was using it has a bunch of these soft jaws made up, and they have it machined for probably lots of different work pieces. So there's several sets of soft jaws right here that go with the 3-jaw. So the 3 hard jaws that I believe came with it was in the bucket there too. And I've got them on there. I don't know if these came with the chuck, but I know Brian had messaged me and he said that he was sending these jaws with the lathe right there. So I've got these bolted onto the 3-jaw, but I do not have a chuck wrench, so I got to make one to fit this. But that's a pretty big, heavy duty, direct mount 3-jaw chuck on this lathe right there. So that's probably a goodie. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap up this particular shop update right here. And so excited that we've got our American lathe now running. You got to see that. And of course, our Gorbel jib crane. All right, so that's it for today. Next up on the list, we have our Mr. Cool air conditioning units. We're going to be starting on those tomorrow. Fernando is coming, and we're going to start getting these guys installed. I'm going to have some video to share of the install of those guys as well. So that's next on the list. All right, so we will see you again very soon.